I picked one of these what's called entity classes. These are domains, and then these are classes within the domain. And so I picked a domain like goal, and I just dragged it to the document. Now, if I can drag it anywhere, but it's going to pick where it puts it, and generally starts in the upper left-hand corner. So then I created like I think I created an intermediate effect. Okay, so I just dragged that again to the document. It decided where to put it. So I have two entities here, and I can't just move them around. Again, if this were Visio, I could just drag them around anywhere. In this case, I get this gestural arrow here that's showing me where I can connect it. So if I want to connect B to A with that, I just drag from one end to the other, and it basically says, okay, this is okay. That's not okay. You can't connect an element to itself. So you see red, here you see blue. So there you see they're connected, and what changed, what got added is still highlighted. The next thing I did was I created another element, a precondition here, and it starts out unconnected. And then I dragged from the element not to an entity, because if I did, it would create another edge connecting to the entity. I dragged it from the entity to another edge. You see how that highlights there. And that could do several things. It created 3 new elements. It created 2 edges and a junctor. So when you drag from an entity to an edge, you're basically saying connect this to that with a junctor to the target. And that's an example of a gesture. And for example, there's many different gestures. For example, let's say I have an action, and I want to hook that into as well. So I have a precondition, intermediate effect, and an action, and I want to connect that in as well. I drag that to the junctor, and it becomes a predecessor of the junctor. Okay, so you saw how some basic ways of connecting things, but there's some more advanced ways of connecting and editing your document. So let's take say another intermediate effect here, and let's say that I wanted to have this intermediate effect where this intermediate effect is located. But let's say I just wanted E to be here instead of B, and I've already typed text in this, and I don't want to copy and paste. So all you have to do is notice that when I hover over things, I get these little highlights, and these highlights indicate that I can start a drag there. Remember, if I start a drag in an entity, then I can connect to, like, for example, to another entity. Undo that. But if I start at the end of an arrow, I can reconnect that entity to the arrow. Notice that in this case, now E is a predecessor. So what are some other gestures you can do? So another thing you can do is, notice how I've been dropping these new entities into the diagram, just kind of open and free, and they're unconnected to things. But one of the real powers of this gestural language is to be able to drop entities onto other parts of the diagram. Notice how as I'm dragging this entity, this new action, it's basically highlighting different parts of the diagram, and these all have different meanings. In fact, there's a different meaning between dragging it on the line and dragging it just slightly off the line. You see that here. And so, for example, if I wanted to make this new action a predecessor of this, then notice that there's a drop zone right there. And so there it is. The action is now predecessor of this. And what this basically means is, most of the time when you add entities to a flying language document, you don't add them unconnected. You add them connected to something. If this action also causes another intermediate effect, then you connect it in. But you start it close to where you want it to be by dropping and making it connected to something. So you can make something a predecessor of something by doing that. You can make it if you drag onto the line, then it automatically creates a junctor like that. If you drag it just off the line, as I was pointing out, let's take an intermediate effect here, then it actually inserts it into the line. So you notice it was I, then the junctor, now it's I, then J, then junctor. So so if you drag it onto the line, it adds a junctor. If you drag it just off the line, so where you see that, so this here adds a junctor, this actually inserts it into the line. So after a while, you just, believe me, it becomes intuitive. If you drag it directly onto the line anywhere, you get the junctor. If you drag it to the line and to that point and then just off it, it inserts it. All right, so redirecting arrows. So when you basically are, when you have arrows that are that you want to move around, you can basically just move them from, like if I want J to point to K, I just do that. I just drag the head of the arrow from where it is to what I want it to be connected to. You can even drag it to another arrow. For example, I want it to be connected with a junctor to this edge. There it is. So you can drag the tail or the head of an edge. So for example, if I want that to be over here, and again, it lays things out the way it wants to, but the relationships are exactly as you specify.